Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. I was muted. Now I'm not. I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent, Jaevon and Alex. Garry is unable to join us tonight as he has to work before a very, very, very important game tomorrow at the Golden One Center. And so joining us, Kevin, is none other than our recurring guest. Would you mind giving her your special intro?
Yes, this is the one and only West Campus state champion. Toddy and I walked the halls with a state champ. We got to say we went to high school with a state champ. So this is, quote unquote, the best basketball player in the Dent family. This is my younger sister, Alex Dent. Thank you for joining us, Alex.
I'm also the best baseball player for the
We're 2-1 today.
Message games. Kevin, I'm like undefeated right now. So.
Well, and Kevin, I don't know if I would put quote unquote on that because we are joined by a state champion, as you mentioned, and a perfect day. I mean, Alex has been on the podcast many a times, but a perfect day for Alex to join us, not only to preview the NBA play-in tournament and the playoffs that are starting this upcoming weekend, but I mean, for those of you who might be tuned on YouTube, X, or Instagram, you see my attire because it's WNBA Draft Day today, ladies and gentlemen. I missed most of it. I got to rewatch it later because I was covering a couple of games for my job in Woodland. But, I'm excited to be here. Alex, you were just talking about before we got started that none other than Folsom's own Mackenzie Forbes just got drafted. And she's staying home in Cali as she just got drafted to the LA Sparks. Do you have any takeaways early on, Alex, from the WNBA draft that's today?
It was really amazing, honestly, just not just the hype, but just how confident these women are, how their abilities and their talents are just speaking for themselves now. I feel like the WNBA, everyone has known the W has now, it's at that level. People are going to watch whether you like it or not, whether you're a hater or you want to be like them, right? And so I just love that everyone is now tuned in. These girls have the talent. They've been having the talent, right? And now let's see how they can translate into the W. And I think it's going to be fun. And I love the turnaround with the tournament was just like 2 weeks ago, the draft, and then the first game is like in a month from now. So it's like now we're rolling, right?
So, is the draft not always this soon?
Yeah.
It is, but I'm glad that you mentioned that, Alex, because it really just carries the momentum from the March Madness tournament, as it should, on to now the WNBA season getting started. And, it's the best time to do it. It might be a little brutal for all the rookies who basically end up playing, if you include all the preseason work that they put in, basically from summer until winter of the following year. And so it's a grind, but, Caitlin Clark is ready for it.
Cameron Brink went to the
Cameron
Sparks?
Brink.
Yeah.
That's what. How do you just read my mind? Because something that Alex said that I wanted, right? It is. And something else that Alex said that I wanted to highlight that Cameron also said in her post draft press conference, because that's all I have gotten to watch so far, is I got to hear from the top 3 picks and everything that they had to say in their pressers. And the thing that Cameron kept emphasizing and saying, like, yeah, this is a great draft class, but there were plenty of other great draft classes before us. So let's acknowledge all the great players that came before. And, Cameron Brink, she's from Oregon, but she gets to stay on the West Coast, obviously went to Stanford. I can talk about the W nonstop. Jaevon, we haven't heard from you yet. I know that we just heard from you a little bit. That's on me as a host. But how are we doing, Podfather?
Making it happen. Do you guys think the Fever can make the playoffs?
Yes.
Not think. I know they will make the playoffs.
They were showing the team beforehand, bro. They had like 3 double-digit scores. I was like, dude, they're not a bad team.
Aaliyah Boston is on that team too. Wasn't
Yeah.
she the number 1 pick last year?
She sure was.
Yeah. So Fever probably gonna make the playoff. Can the Fever win a championship? I don't know about that, but the Fever, I feel like they're gonna make the playoffs. Caitlin's gonna.
Hey, man.
We're seeing. It kind of goes back to what I was saying. I said this a couple of podcasts ago when we were talking about is Caitlin Clark the best college, greatest WNBA basketball, college basketball player ever. And I feel like what I said is starting to like age very well. I said she was the most influential, and her influence has been times a million because no one was watching the WNBA draft like that. Nobody was watching. They had the highest like ever rating, I think, from an ESPN basketball game since like LeBron was playing in the finals for a championship basketball game. So I mean, her influence alone is just going to just bring so many eyeballs. And like we've said before, they were already moving dates around, games around. Like the Fever are going to be a heavily nationally televised team throughout the regular season. Like most of their games are going to be on TV. So
I'm sure it's all but like 3.
Yeah, like 4 games. It's insane. So
Caitlin Clark effect.
saw Caitlin Clark's salary. Severely already underpaid. We'll just say that right now. I think she's gonna be making $76,000 in her first year, which I'm like, there are people who work for the state that make more than that, which is I feel like they'll get to that later. They'll have a lot more revenue share probably coming in because a lot more people are going to be tuning in. So I'm saying this right now. Caitlin Clark is going to affect everybody's pay going forward now because everybody's going to be watching more. A lot more people are going to be more tuned in to WNBA basketball. So that collective bargain agreement, when they start negotiating them TV deals and all that stuff, is going to start to come up a little bit more, all because of Caitlin Clark. I think obviously she is the front runner of all that, but I think Angel Reese had a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah, and Mako does as well, as we're all in agreement there. And the last thing that I'll say, just in regard to the WNBA draft before we get to the play-in tournament, is a lot of people. Charles Barkley is one of the main ones. Always credit Magic Johnson and Larry Bird for changing the NBA forever. Like the NBA had this narrative about it of being like a league of a bunch of druggies, like that just do a bunch of different drugs and stuff like that was the narrative of the NBA in the 60s and 70s. Not a good look. But those two, what they did on the NCAA tournament level in the championship game, they parlayed that momentum into everyone tuning into the NBA, which used to be on tape delay, and then it obviously started to be live. I definitely think that that's what Caitlin Clark can do. And also, I mean, Cameron Brink, she might have gone in the league a year early, even though she was a senior. She had that COVID year that she could have gone back. But she's just a raw talent right now, and she might have a rough couple first years, but even she knows that, and she's just saying like, I'm looking forward to growing, and I appreciate the Sparks for taking a chance on me. But anyways, this is not WNBA Social. This is Stats Over Politics. So, guys, let's get to the NBA play-in tournament because it begins on Tuesday. And unfortunately for all of us, except for Jaevon, the Sacramento Kings are in the play-in tournament. And I say that because, Alex, I'm assuming you're a Kings fan as well. And no,
she's a Sacramento Celtic as well.
You know, I really am a Monarchs fan.
Yes, we all are. I think we could all agree we're all Monarchs.
But the Kings, yeah, I'll take the Kings. But I'm at heart a Monarchs fan.
Okay, I love that, and that reminded me of one final question I got to ask about the W, because all of you see me wearing my New York Liberty gear. It's a Sabrina Ionescu jersey. There's a big 20 on it, and I think that's significant. Not only
didn't they get broom last year? I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
No, they didn't. They won one game.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
WNBA Finals. Right. Thank you very much, Jaevon. Anyways, thanks for the reminder on that as well. But anyways. The New York Liberty have been my squad for the last 4 years, since 2020, because I was a Monarchs fan, just like all of you guys. But then when they disbanded, my taste for the W kind of went away, and my passion for it. I kind of watched as a casual in the 2010s when it was the LA Sparks and the Minnesota Lynx going back and forth in the WNBA Finals every year. But I didn't have a team until 2020, and I ultimately ended up going with and I ended up going with the Liberty just because I really enjoyed seeing Sabrina play throughout college, and that kind of just led me to say wherever she gets drafted, I'm going to be a fan of that team. So I will continue to be a New York Liberty fan for the rest of my life until Sacramento Monarchs come back, and then the New York Liberty will just have to be my Eastern Conference team. What I wanted to ask, what's up, Toddy?
Think they'll come back? I hope they do.
I sure hope they do. I mean, the W is at 12 teams right now. The next step is probably 14, but realistically, they could get to 16 and then maybe 20, 24, 30 eventually.
What was that back then?
Back then, I think it's been at 12 for a while now. It's just you have like the San Antonio Silver Stars or whatever they used to call the WNBA team back there. They went to Vegas. And so like some teams just changed cities. Yeah. Some teams disbanded. And all that. That's actually a good question, Toddy. I might have to fact check that. But anyways, what I wanted to ask of all of you is, I'm obviously a New York Liberty fan. Now that we officially are seeing a new era in basketball, period, but specifically in women's basketball, I'm putting you all on the spot. I don't need any bandwagons around here, so I need to hear who's everyone's teams. You can pick the Aces if you want, but I need to hear. Alex, let's start with you. Who's your squad?
I am a diehard, maybe not diehard, but ever since Maya Moore went to the Minnesota Lynx, I've always been a Lynx fan. When Maya Moore left the Lynx and she retired, I was like, oh, okay. But shout out to Courtney Williams. She's a USF alum, go Bulls, and she is on the Lynx. So hopefully she could turn this ship around. But yeah, I've always been a Lynx fan. I've always had like their posters in my room of the big old cat, I guess, logo everywhere. So I've always been a Lynx fan. So because of my
I love that. Jaevon, who would you say is your WNBA squad and why?
I wouldn't necessarily say I had a team per se. I mostly rooted for players.
Time to pick one today.
But I always definitely rooted for the Mercury because of Diana Taurasi. She's my favorite female basketball player. I think she's one of the greatest of all time. I met her once when I was a kid. She signed a Game Informer that I had at a Monarchs game. Me and my cousin Kimmy, we went down during shoot around, and I was haggling trying to get Diana to come over and sign my Game Informer. And I have no idea where it is to this day. I remember it being at my grandparents' house, and I just left it there, and just I don't know, it got lost in the sauce, and probably somebody found it and sold it on eBay for tons of money, and they lucked up that day. But always have rooted for Diana Taurasi because she's my goat.
Please tell the fans what a Game Informer is.
I don't know if the Gen Zers out there.
I'm pretty sure Alex has no idea what that is.
I probably have no idea what it is. So a Game Informer would just I would get one every month. I was subscribed to one when I was a kid. And they always spelled my name wrong. They spelled it J-Ron with the R, which I always thought was funny. And I used to always get every month it would get sent to your house. It's like a magazine basically. It has basically trials and there's different articles and stuff about all the new video games that are coming up the next year. So you would find out what games are coming out like later that year or the next year in the Game Informer.
You knew what that was, Alex?
Yes.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I used to have so much. My dad like signed up for one, and then we just like would get them all the time, and I would always read them. They don't have magazines anymore.
Yeah, even look at Sports Illustrated, what it is now. But Kevin, who is your favorite WNBA squad, and why is it the Seattle
Sean, I had a story all lined up. See, me and my good pal Sue, we take travel trips,
first name basis.
Every now occasionally, we fly out together, we do what we have to do. We kind of bump elbows. So, she last time I talked to her, she asked me what I thought about her career, and we shared some tips, and she gave me some tips. I told her I was looking to get back at it, get into the men's adult league. She was telling me some tips, and she might even come to a game. So, I know she doesn't play anymore, but I got to rep with Seattle because my good pal Sue Bird, she's signing the jerseys on the way. It's going to be framed right there. So as soon as I get it, it will be up. So shout out to Sue Bird, man.
Hell yeah.
I was scrolling through my phone trying to find that picture, Shaun.
And I have it saved in my photos as well, but I couldn't remember when it was, but it's your contact photo. And so real quickly, I just went to your contact, screenshot it, cropped it, and then airdropped it to myself. I talk shit about myself when I'm a bad producer. That was some damn good producing on my part. I got to give myself a pat on the back. Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Real quickly, before we get to the plan, I want to get to a couple YouTube comments. As Uncle Manny always tapping in with us, says, how about them Kings? Let's make it happen tomorrow. Okay, we need some prayers due to injuries. And then our guy Wes says, who watches the play-in? Go Wolves. Says, nice hat, Shaun. We appreciate that, Wes. And he corrected, I believe it was probably Alex, where he said wherever Skylar Diggins is at. Skylar Diggins is now a member of the Seattle Storm. So both members of the Dent household might be Seattle Storm fans.
Welcome, Alex. We accept you.
Wait, he thought Skylar Diggins. No, Maya Moore was on the Lynx.
Yeah. Maya Moore was on the Lynx, but I think I'm not sure exactly. Wes, you can let us know, but I think he was correcting you where you said I'm a fan wherever Maya Moore is, or maybe it was Jaevon saying wherever DT is.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, as we keep things moving here on episode number 90, we've made it to 90 episodes, guys. 10 away from 100. We got some plans in the work for episode number 100. But now let's move on to the play-in tournament. As I mentioned
before you go, Shaun, the average podcast doesn't last more than 14 episodes.
Look at us. I don't got muscles, but I'm a flex. Look at us.
Is key.
Amazing. Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so, hey, we're here at 90. That is what? That's 5 times 14. So, hey, good on us.
Quick math. Look at the producer, man.
I fucked it up. That's
not bad.
14 times 5 is 70. So I tried my best. But anyway, getting to the NBA play-in tournament, it begins on Tuesday. Our being Kevin and our Sacramento Kings are in the play-in tournament. Jaevon has been on one lately, absolutely trolling all of us, and actually got on my nerves a little bit the other day. And I just had to stop replying. A wise man told me stop replying, so I stopped replying. And so, anyways, Jaevon's been in major troll mode, but the Kings, they ended up getting the 9 seed. They will host the Golden State Warriors, who are the 10 seed. We get a rematch of last year's first round that obviously went 7 games. But before we get to that game at 7 o'clock on TNT, game 1, which is the 7-8 West matchup, is the Lakers and the Pelicans in New Orleans. And if I'm not mistaken and remember correctly, the Lakers and Pelicans just played on Sunday to end the regular season. Lakers beat the brakes off of them. And so that'll be interesting. Then we get to Wednesday where we have our Eastern Conference games. West Coast is the best coast, so I'm just going to disregard that. And then we get to Friday's games, which are obviously whoever ends up winning the 9-10 and whoever ends up losing the 7-8. So just going in order, Alex, I guess I'm going to toss it to you first, starting with the Lakers and the Pelicans. How do you see that matchup?
I think I want to say Pelicans, but it really depends on if Brandon Ingram is back. Do you guys know if he's back?
He is.
Mm-hmm.
He is? Okay. Pelicans.
All right. Toddy, how do you see that series?
I think it's a bad matchup for the Pels. I think the Lakers end up winning. I saw yesterday got like 30 piece by them. And I think that game was at home. So I don't know. Do the Lakers play? They go back to New Orleans? Is the game in New Orleans again, or is it in LA?
It's in LA.
I think. Oh, it's in LA?
Yeah, because
So
the
Lakers
loser
are-
of our game goes, or the winner of our game goes to LA. So I'm assuming.
Well,
No, the Pelicans are 7th though, so they host.
Oh.
yeah, the Lakers, if they were to lose, they would host the next game. But as far as
Gotcha.
tomorrow's game goes, New
Yeah,
Orleans
the
has home
Pelicans,
court.
they
So
host it.
So the Lakers don't
All
even
of
have to travel anywhere. Like they just stay in New Orleans from Sunday into Tuesday, and it's like almost like a regular back-to-back. But Toddy, you were saying that this is a bad matchup for the Pelicans, even with BI coming back.
Yeah, BI, he was on a minutes restriction yesterday, but yesterday the game still mattered. Like the Pelicans still were trying to, fight for seeding. I do believe LeBron is, this isn't his first rodeo. He's played in the play-in before. This is what, his second play-in, Kev? Am I not mistaken? Second play-in?
Unfortunately.
My LeBronologist. I just think the Lakers, Anthony Davis, his rim protection that he brings, I think D'Angelo Russell will probably see him kind of come out of the woodwork. He's been playing pretty well, I think, for the majority of the season. I think Austin Reeves will be able to knock down shots. We'll see a Rui Hachimura sighting in this playing game. And now it's kind of, the big boy pants start to come on. I get this is kind of like the limbo for everybody. Like, is this really a playoff game? Is it not? I technically count it as a playoff game because if you win, you go in and you advance. If you lose, you presumably go home. But particularly not in this instance because 7-8 matchup still gets another chance to play in a game even if they do lose. But I think LeBron has a monster night. I think Anthony Davis has a monster night. And I think the Lakers win. Now, I get Brandon Ingram is coming back, but he is coming back. He's missed, 12 games from injury. Didn't play as much yesterday, but I think this game will be a lot closer than it was yesterday because yesterday was kind of a bloodbath. But I do think I don't think the Pelicans – Zion hasn't played in a playoff type of setting. This will be like his first taste of what the playoff atmosphere looks like. So I'm going to roll with the experience and take LeBron and AD and the Lakers to advance and get the 7th seed.
All right, we only have one of two LeBronologists here on the panel today, but Kevin, I'm gonna need you to hold it down. Are you going with your bias here, or I mean, where do you? I don't want to assume. So just where do you got the game at?
So I'm on the same side as Alex. If Brandon Ingram were to play, I know he's ramping up, so we don't know if he's going to be full on Brandon Ingram this year, who was borderline could have been an all-star this year. He was having a really great season. So to see him and Zion really get healthy and we talked about CJ McCollum on this podcast a lot and how he's really just formatted that team. And I got to show love to Shaun's dude, Jonas Valanciunas. So they have a really good crew. Willie Green, we saw without Zion in the playoffs, they really contested versus Suns, and we've really just seen them grow and grow and grow. And unfortunately, the growing stops. You got LeBron James coming to town. I mean, like Toddy said, last game was a bloodbath, 28-11, 17-5. First player since Magic Johnson to have those numbers in the game. LeBron James is almost 40 years old, and he's not slowing down. So this team, I don't know who's going to guard them over there. I know Herb Jones is all defensive NBA kind of guy, but I don't know if Herb's going to really be able to bump with LeBron, and then you have to do what, Larry Nance? So I just think the matchups are going to be wrong, but I know AD and LeBron are going to show up. But I think it comes down to the role players, unfortunately. And the Pelicans have the better role players. It depends on what D'Angelo Russell we're going to get. If we're going to get the D'Angelo, the post-trade deadline trade deadline D-Lo, we get that D-Lo, we're going. Austin Reeves has been really wishy-washy. Definitely better than Jalen Green this year, but that's another conversation for another time. So I liked what I've seen out of the Lakers, but it's going to come down to role players. And if the Lakers role players can hit some shots, I don't know if Jared Vanderbilt's playing because I know he's been missing some time. So Rui's going to have to step up. If Rui can play like he did before he got that big deal in the playoffs last season on the Western Conference Finals run, this Lakers team is going to be very scary. But I'm not going to go too far in my predictions, but I definitely think they're going to be able to get this one out because I think the Lakers role players and the Lakers momentum just that they finish the season out is going to carry on.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat you guys too much, but I think that the Dents really nailed it with the impact of Brandon Ingram because that ultimately is why I chose the Pelicans to win this game. And initially, when I saw the picks flowing through the chat, so Kevin could make the graphic for social media, I thought I was going to be the only one on Pelicans Island, but apparently not. And I definitely think that Jonas Valanciunas will make an impact in this game. But in all seriousness, though, Anthony Davis is an all defensive player for a reason, and like he has that caliber of play. And so I don't know if we're going to see much from Jonas, but CJ McCollum, I say this time and time again, he's not playing the Sacramento Kings, and selfishly, I want the Pelicans to win, just so if the Kings do win, they don't have to play the Pelicans again, because the Kings went 4-0 against the Los Angeles Losers this year. And I think that they would make it 5-0 if they got the opportunity, even in LA, because they did it twice already this year. And all the Laker fans have been telling me, oh, yeah, you did it in the regular season. Congratulations. It would be so Kings for them to sweep the Lakers in the regular season and then have your season ended by the Lakers in the play-in tournament. That's highly likely. I hope it doesn't happen, but I think we're going to see that matchup because, I mean, not to get too far into my picks here, but I got the Kings winning against the Warriors at home. And then I also have the Pelicans winning, which means we would see the Kings and the Lakers in Los Angeles on Friday. I would love to see it. Like the script writers, they need to just make sure it happens. But even putting all my bias aside, I think if Brandon Ingram is 70% of what he usually is, then the Pelicans have the advantage in this game. But it's kind of all wait and see type of thing. Now, guys, let's now get to the other game that's on Tuesday, and that is the hometown Sacramento Kings. Even for the Celtics fans, it is their hometown. As the Kings host the Warriors.
Did y'all see the damn prices for these playing tickets?
Oh my gosh, I was trying to go, but I was like,
I just about my fault, Shaun. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
Cut your number like that. I was just looking up at the prices, just because like, oh, there's a playoff game tomorrow, right? So I'm just like looking at it, and I'm like, okay, but the first they showed me was $100, and I was like, okay, that's not bad. But then I looked at where you would be sitting at. You up there, you in heaven.
your back is to the wall.
Your back is to the wall. You want to get a good seat, like row 120 or section 120, $300 a pop. So Steph coming to town. It's a play-in. They're not even a playoff game. This is not even a playoff game. This is a play-in game. I can only imagine. Don't let the Kings win. Oh my God, don't let the Kings win. Them ticket prices go jump up $200 more for another play.
Definitely, and I think that just given the fact of what happened last year was obviously Kings fans just wanting to get a taste of a playoff atmosphere. It's the reason why I, as someone who is a struggling sports journalist, even shelled out nearly $500 to sit the second row to the top. I wasn't the very top. I was second row to the top, and I spent $482 on a ticket because I wanted to be there for game one. And I look back on it, I have no regrets. But, I mean, when I just put the experience of it aside, I think to myself, you really just spent that much money for that fucking seat. But, I, for one, will not be going to tomorrow's play-in game because, as Toddy said numerous times, it's the play-in, not the playoffs. And also, this is the third or fourth year that we've had this now. I don't know how the NBA has not figured out what we do with play-in stats. Because I remember vividly the first year of it when Jason Tatum dropped 50 points in a play-in game. It didn't fall into regular season stats, didn't fall into playoff stats. It's just out in the ether. He scored 50 points. I don't even know how to describe it. So we got to figure that out. But yeah, I won't be paying for those tickets. And the last thing I'll add on to Toddy's point is I get text messages. I'm like subscribed to the Kings like fast break alerts where if they can't sell tickets, then they send you a text message saying, hey, $25 for an Upper Bowl ticket for tomorrow night's game. I got a text message earlier, and Alex, I saw you shake your head. It looked like an agreement, so you might also get those same texts. But I got a text earlier that said, tomorrow's play-in game, $199 for a lower level ticket. Get it now. And I'm like, oh, this is what we're doing now? We're saying $200 is the cheapest we're going to get? Oh, hell no. I will watch from the comfort of my couch behind me. That's what I will do.
Free of charge.
Guys.
Free of charge.
Right? Free of charge. And, I got my own stocked bar here, and I don't have to pay $20 for a beer. Anyways, getting to the game itself, Kevin, I'm going to start it with you rather than going to Boston first. I'm just wondering, how do you see this game turning out between the Kings and the Golden State Scrubs?
Take a deep breath, Kevin.
We're going to light the fucking beam, Shaun. I know when you look at the overall season record between us, it's 2-2. But the four of us are all ball watchers, and we all remember when
one of those was
Kevin,
Klay Thompson.
The Klay Thompson shot, bro. When they didn't call Kevin Huerter a 2 versus a 3, so that really funked things up. We should be 3-1 against him, and I want everybody to know that's telling me, Kevin, well, what happened last year? This is a completely different Warriors team. Completely different Warriors team. Yes, the Kings are a different team in aspects from injury health, injury standpoint, but I think the Kings are going to get it done. De'Aaron Fox this year versus the Warriors, 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists. So he is coming to play. You know, he's on the Curry brand, so I know he looks to go when he plays against Steph Curry. You know, the NorCal rivalry, everyone's kind of looked at us as a joke last year, and people were saying, well, Kevin, you know, last year you guys were the 3, now you're in the play-in, blah, blah, blah. You have to be worried at some point. And if it comes down to us losing to Steph Curry again, I'm going to come on here on Friday and lose my fucking mind. It cannot be another Game 7 50 ball. Like, it just can't come down to that. You know, and when everyone looks back at that series, you know, we always talk about what could have been if Harrison Barnes made that shot. Kings go up 3-1 versus it being 2-2. It's a whole different game. So a lot of people want to say, Kevin, like Toddy says, what have you done for me lately? Let me tell you what this Kings have done for me lately. When Domantas Sabonis plays against the Warriors, he averages a triple-double. And Draymond Green played in 3 of those games. So a lot of people can say, oh, maybe Draymond wasn't there. He was there 3 or 4 of them, and all 4 of them were triple-doubles. So this team has been playing great. But the one stat that does kill me is in those 4 games, Malik Monk averaged 22 points. You know, I looked at Kevin Huerter stats, and he averaged 7. But, you know, I didn't want to bring that up. But we're talking about the injury, so I had to. But I think as a holistic review, if we can stop Steph Curry, I don't think the rookie out of Santa Clara, I'm not even going to try to butcher his last name.
Just call him Pods. Just call him Pods.
Okay, I wasn't going to try to butcher his name.
It's Brandon Pajemski or however you pronounce it. But I heard in a press conference yesterday that all the Warriors media was just calling him Pods.
Makes sense. So I just think it's going to come down to depth, like I mentioned, with the Lakers Pelicans. And once you know, it depends what Klay Thompson we're going to get. If we get the first half of the season, Klay Thompson, you know, is he going to get traded? What are they going to do about this big 3? And now towards the end of the season, it's like, all right, well, maybe Klay is revamped. So if Klay Thompson come off the bench and we can contain Klay Thompson, I think we have a great chance because I don't think Trace Jackson Davis is really going to be able to do anything. Draymond Green's not going to be able to do anything. And I think Kuminga is going to be in shambles. You know, I know he's been one of their brighter spots, but I think Keegan Murray is honestly going to be in that ass. You know, we've seen Kuminga really rise, but he's been really rocking. When you look at the numbers, it's 25, 25, 25, 25, 6, 9, 10. So he's a young guy. So what do you expect? You know, they've had a lot of turmoil this year. So everyone is now looking at the Warriors as they finally came back down to earth, and now they've come to terms with who they are and what roles they have been given, and they think that they're going to be able to just tumble over us. Well, let me tell you this, everybody. The Kings are going to light that beam, and when we come in here on Friday, I'm going to get on Toddy's dome. Just let it be known.
I really look forward to that, and a couple things that I wanted to follow up on that Kevin said is, number one, everyone talking shit about the Kings going from 3rd to 8th. They literally had 2 less wins than last season. 2 less wins. And they did all that with injuries to Malik Monk, to Kevin Huerter, to Trey Lyles, to Sasha Veznikov. When last year, the only main injury was Domas breaking his thumb, or not breaking his thumb, but tearing ligaments in his thumb, playing through it. That was the Kings' injuries last year. They actually got bit by the injury bug this year. It sucks, but they still have a chance to get to the playoffs. And for that, I'm proud. And Kevin, it broke my heart when you mentioned that Game 4 shot because I went to that game at Chase Center. I wanted to experience a playoff road game.
Which was cheaper, by the way.
Oh, it was significantly
way cheaper, bro.
And I had a way better seat. I'm still in the nosebleeds, but I had a way better seat for more than half or less than half of what I spent to see it at Golden One Center. But oh my God, I could still see that shot rattling in and out of the rim, like from the nosebleeds in my brain. And it's still
lost money on that game.
Well,
Yeah, I
hey,
was winning all the games we lost.
is that why, Jaevon, is that why you're the number one player hater of the Sacramento Kings?
I heard Kevin say, "What have you done for me lately, League?" And I'm glad that he brought that up. Kings have lost 4-6 of their last 10 games. They have lost 4 of their last 5 to end the season. I even go back to just the summer, or like you're coming off of a heartbreaking Game 7 loss. Steph Curry just gave you 50 in Game 7. What do you do with this team? How do we get better? You know what Monty McNair said? He said, "Fuck free agency. We're bringing the same team back. We're re-signing Harrison Barnes. We're gonna bring back everybody's coming back. Like you didn't want to get better, do nothing. There's some guy you could have argued it wouldn't have been the greatest free agency. That's a name that could have been out there. There are other guys obviously that were out there that you could have gotten. But then you kind of look at the West kind of just get better over time. Now I realize this was before Bradley Beal signed with the Suns, but you saw that happen. Obviously, you had Kyrie already signed previously in that regular season at All-Star break. You saw that happen. So the West continued to get better while the Kings kind of just stayed the same. And I was always an advocate on saying you guys didn't want to make any type of moves to try and get your team better. And now, hey, I get that you guys, wherever you guys were before Kevin Huerter went down, before Malik Monk went down.
6.
6. So you guys were still kind of fighting for your lives a little bit, trying to stay out of the play-in at least. But we do realize that injuries are a part of the game. Not taking anything away from those guys, but it's a do or die. And the last time it was do or die for the Kings in a playoff setting, guess who they played? Stephen Wardell Curry. And guess what? He's coming back to Golden One Center tomorrow. And Steph Curry's the boogeyman for the Kings. I'll say that now.
No, the boogeyman is the boogeyman is CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum is the Kings boogeyman, and I say that with all due respect to Stephen Curry. But if you look at the averages,
Steph Curry is the boogeyman for the Sacramento Kings. When it comes down to it, I get it. Last year in the playoffs, you guys had chance after chance after chance to kind of put the Warriors away. But there's just something about that guy, number 30. Lost a lot of money betting on you guys last year. I'm not going to make that mistake again. So the wounded Kings are going to limp to Golden One tomorrow on primetime television, as it is the late game. And they're going to give it their best shot. I think De'Aaron Fox is going to have a tremendous game. Sabonis will probably have a triple-double. You can probably gamble on that and get plus odds. But I just don't think it's going to be enough. I think it's just going to get tighter. Who else are your other options besides De'Aaron Fox and DeMontis Sabonis going to be your option scorer? Is it going to be Keegan Murray? You would hope it'd be Keegan Murray. You can only hope for so much. Is it going to be Harrison Barnes? I haven't seen that in a playoff setting. So you're kind of you're hoping. There's a lot of hope besides you already know what your two guys are going to give you, and you're kind of just hoping that somebody else is going to give you something else. And I've seen this team win championships. I mean, they've knocked my team out in the championship setting. I've seen it. I'm not going to bet against Steph Curry in a do or die situation. So I'm rolling with the Warriors here.
But before we pass it to Alex, Toddy, you said the last 8 games were what?
4-6.
4-6 last 10 games. So let me go ahead and rattle off these 10 games. Dallas, playoffs. Knicks, 2 seed. Celtics, 1 seed. Oklahoma City Thunder, 1 seed. Pelicans, playoff team. Suns, playoff team. So it's not like we're, losing to the Bobcats or the team down the way. We're not just out here getting smacked. You got to give us some respect. We lost to you guys by 1 point, and we lost to the Suns by 1 point. So that record looks really, really bad. And Toddy used my own term against me, so I had to look up the last few games. I know we've been really close, but
sounds like excuses to me.
It's the truth. You made it seem like we played the Nets 10 times and won 1-4. We didn't play the Nets 4 times. So I mean, you have to look at it with perspective. We're ball knowers, Toddy.
All right, 4-6. Limping.
Okay, so this is where everyone says that I'm like the most I don't want to say realistic, but maybe level-headed fan of all of us is Kevin. I hate to kill your point, but I have to do it because this is stats over politics, and I can't let this slip by. You mentioned the Knicks game, you mentioned the Thunder game. The Kings had 20-point leads on the road in both of those games, and they blew both of those leads. That's exactly why last week, when I was talking with Garry at the end of last week's episode, and we were looking ahead to the final 3 games, Garry was like, "We're winning all 3." As the optimistic Kings fan. Meanwhile, I'm the opposite. I'm a pessimistic Kings fan. I said we would go 1-2, and that's exactly what they did because the Kings are going to king or Kangs. So, anyways, Alex, I wanted to toss it to you next because I know that we got you for about another 20 minutes, so we want to get through this play-in tournament and then get to the playoff matchups that have actually been set. But are you going to show your hometown some love, or should you just move to the Bay Area?
I'm not betting against Stephen Curry. I'm sorry. I just think the Warriors. The Warriors' only offense is Steph Curry. And I feel like the Kings kind of relied on a group of individuals, but I feel like with Malik Monk being kind of the main one that got injured, I'm really interested to see like who steps up. I'm not gonna. It depends on how you guard Steph Curry and if he blows up, and if we're gonna get like a Game 6 Klay Thompson. If you get a Game 6 Klay Thompson and you can't stop Steph, obviously, the Kings are gonna go home with the L. So
boxing one.
Honestly, just throw all the guys at him. I just don't know about Klay, but I am going to say the Warriors. But to your point, though, I just saw this stat, and it was like the first time in history that 10 teams in the Western Conference are over 500, and that's excluding the Memphis Grizzlies this year. So I understand like the Kings being like 3rd last year to 9 with only 2 missed game, like 2 game difference. But like the West is going to be stacked. I mean, like you got Houston on the uprise. I don't know what they're cooking down in San Antonio right now. Like
aliens.
The West is
aliens.
Aliens. I don't want. If I was like someone in the draft, I'd be like, just draft me to the Eastern Conference team. Like I don't want to fight in my life for the West. So yeah.
Yeah, Toddy, as you would like to say, it's cold world for the Sacramento Kings. But hey, at least they broke that 16-year playoff drought. Now moving to the Eastern Conference. Alex, did you want to say one more thing?
Oh, no, I was just like.
Oh yeah. Hey, they lit the beam. That's what they certainly did. But now getting to the Eastern Conference, kind of begrudgingly to me because I can honestly, I mean, I'm a huge basketball fan, but when it comes to comparing these West matchups versus these East matchups, I can hardly give a shit about the East. But we're going to talk about it. The most interesting game that we'll probably get out of the East is going to be the game 3 of the play-in tournament where the Miami Heat play at Philadelphia 76ers. That's going to be at 4:00 on Wednesday. And then we have the 4th play-in tournament game, which I don't know why. I guess maybe they put this as the later game just because that lets everyone on the East Coast see the better game at least. But then you have Atlanta at Chicago at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday. And so starting out with the more interesting game, Miami at Philly. Yes, that is correct, Jaevon. And so with the first one on ESPN between the Heat and the 76ers, Jaevon, how do you see that matchup going?
Joel's back. Maxey, I saw a stat, it was like when Maxey and Joel play, they win like 84% of their games or something like that. Insane stat. The Heat have been similar, I'd say, to the Kings, kind of limping into this playing spot. But the Heat are notoriously known for kind of stepping up, and pretty much all bets are off for them. I don't think they win this game. I do think they make the playoffs. I think just whenever, you got healthy Maxey, and Kelly Oubre, who I think is going to be a factor for them in this game. I think the 76ers do win this game at home. Heat probably I feel like the Heat will be losing the entire game and trying to make a push at the end. Similar to last year, they did not win the first play-in game last year. They also lost their first game, which was at home. kind of crazy. But that's kind of the thing with these one-off playing games. Like you really just got to win one or two games. It's not necessarily a series to where you kind of you could get hot for one or two games and just will your team into the playoffs, which I think Jimmy Butler will end up doing. But I do think the 76ers come out on top in this game.
Okay, Alex, how do you see this matchup going between Philly and Miami?
I think it will be a bloodbath. Joel Embiid's back. He's my favorite player besides Kevin Durant. And I think the 76ers are going to win. I do think the Heat are going to lose the second game as well. I have the Bulls coming out as the 8th seed because DeMar DeRozan, I feel like people don't respect him enough. And he's hot. And I really want to see him in the playoffs and not just in a play-in team because I feel like he deserves it. I don't know what the Bulls do because the Bulls team is not that great, but
not at all.
Deserves it. So, yep, that's my favorite.
Yeah, the master of the mid-range, DeMar DeRozan, gotta put some respect on
Mini
his
magician.
name.
That's something I call.
Oh, that is way better.
Yeah.
10 times better. So the mini magician, we'll get to him. We'll get to his game next. But Kevin, focusing on this first Eastern Conference play-in game between the 76ers and the Heat, how do you see this one turning out?
I got the 76ers, man. Toddy mentioned it. Since Joel Embiid has been back, he's been dominating. We kind of thought it was going to take him some time to ramp up, but his last 5 games, 31 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. It's looking like he didn't miss a beat. And he missed, 34, 35 games? Honestly, as a Sixers fan, are you mad that he got hurt early versus him getting hurt late? Usually is very famous for getting hurt in the playoffs, so now he got hurt early. Gave him a lot of time to rest. So he's got healthy knees. He's coming back healthy. So I'm really looking forward to them. Like Toddy mentioned, Kelly Oubre has been balling for them. Tobias Harris shows up every now and then. And then, we have the superstar, the all-star, and Tyrese Maxey, averaging 30 points, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds his last 5 games. So this team is coming in hot. They added depth in Kyle Lowry. So I think this team is really, really playing well at the right time. And to see that Joel Embiid comes in and doesn't miss a beat, it should be scary to the people on the bottom of the screen, Shaun. I won't have to call out any names or anything, but if I was one of them, Sacramento, Boston Celtic fans, I'd be shaking in my boots. But, I'm happy to see Joel Embiid, and the Sixers are solely going to win this game because Tobias Harris is going to come out and say, Jimmy, fuck you. They kept me over you. X-Factor, Tobias Harris.
Well, isn't that interesting? That is actually
Tobias Harris over me.
Man, I absolutely love that. And brace yourself, guys. This is going to probably make you cringe, and I'll even say it in my monotone ass voice. But party in the city where the heat is on all night on the beach till the break of dawn. Welcome to Miami. The Heat are going to win, as Will Smith said in that song a long, long time ago. Did you guys forget? I mean, Kevin just alluded to it, but did you guys forget that, Jimmy Butler should probably still be on the 76ers to this day? And you think that he's not going to go into Philly and absolutely torch them? Come on. This is playoff Jimmy. This is when he comes to life every single season. Yeah, it's technically the play-in, but this is an opportunity to get to the playoffs. And are we all forgetting that the Miami Heat started in the play-in last year and made it to the NBA Finals?
First team answer.
Why does everyone overlook the Miami Heat? I'm not just talking about the 3 of you. I mean, Garry can be included because I know he did as well. But this is when Miami turns it on. Put all the song cliches aside. Jimmy Butler is a playoffs player. In the playoffs, he's a top 10 player in the NBA. In the regular season, he's a top 50 player because he does not give the effort that is required to actually do something in the regular season because he's getting ready for the playoffs. I just think Jimmy Butler wills his team to a win in this game. Bam Adebayo, he's a great defensive player. He'll be able to do enough to limit Joel Embiid. And let's not forget about Scary Terry Rozier, who has been one of the best additions in the NBA this season. When we talk about overall impact that a player brings to a team, Scary Terry gives them that third option that they have so desperately needed, have wanted a guy like Tyler Hero to become. But as Kevin and I talked about a couple weeks ago, Malik Monk is clearly better than Tyler Hero. So I wouldn't say Tyler Hero is going to be the third option on your team. That's why they had to get a Terry Rozier. Alex, you look like you definitely disagreed with everything I had to say.
I just feel like with Jimmy Butler, you can't just turn it on, right? Last year, I felt like the last few games in the regular season, you could tell he was ramping up to be playoff Jimmy. But you can't just because they've been playing like trash basically since like February. But like you can't just, all right, now like I could put this facade on and I could go out and torture Joel Embiid's team in Philly. No, it doesn't work out like that.
I would agree with you if there weren't that previous history. And I just think like Jimmy going back to the city that didn't want him, that wanted Tobias Harris over him. And I love Toby. But Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler. Yeah, Bobby and Toby, the best duo in the NBA. I love the commercials. But Tobias Harris over Jimmy Butler, and now Jimmy Butler gets an opportunity to exact revenge. And Alex, you said you can't just turn it on, but when it comes to Jimmy Butler, he's turning it off, and he's back on because it's the playoffs. It's that easy for Jimmy Butler. On and off. It's that easy. But anyways, I'm the only one on the panel who's going to go with the Miami Heat in this one. And that also includes Garry, I believe, who picked the 76ers. Kevin, that's correct, right? Garry picked the Sixers. So, all right. I guess I wasn't alone on Pelicans Island, but I am alone on Miami Island. And I'm going to have a party by myself. Guys, now moving on to the other East playing game, which I definitely think won't be that great, but maybe, a rock fight. Jaevon, remind me. Well, you said the mid-range magician. Is that what you said?
Midi magician.
Midi magician. Man, that's a good one. So Jaevon, starting things off for us, how do you see this game going between Ice Tray and the midi magician?
I got Chicago winning this game now. I'm going against my guy Trae Young.
Wow.
I do think this is probably his last game in a Hawks jersey, due to all the admit rumors. Probably a possible trade to LA, maybe. But I do think this is Trae Young's last game as a Hawk. I just been watching the Hawks. The Hawks lost a key piece in Jalen Johnson, who Kev is very familiar with. He's a Dookie. He's been playing out of his ass the entire year for the most part. I think he was hurt for the majority of the year. Came back kind of towards the middle of the year and then got hurt again. But it's kind of just – this is more of a pick'em. The line doesn't say that. Chicago's favored by 3 points. I feel like this would be more of a pick'em game. Just due to the fact that Chicago hasn't – they've been like the best worst team in the Eastern Conference. Kobe White, I think, should be in the running for most improved player, just the way that he's been playing throughout the year. DeMar DeRozan, as clutch as he's been pretty much putting Chicago on his back, and kind of just, I wouldn't necessarily say willed his team to a 10 seed, but kind of just kept them afloat, I would say, and kind of not let them get too much into the red. But I do like Chicago in the spot. Not gambling on this game just because shit happens. Like Trae Young last year went crazy. He went nuclear in the play-in game. I think it was against Chicago. No, it wasn't. It was against Miami that they beat. But pretty like, if you want to bet on this game, I would bet like Trae Young to go for 30 or DeRozan to go for 30 and Kobe White, whatever their point totals are. I would definitely bet that, which I'll probably kind of look up now as I'm talking about it. But do like the Bulls to win tomorrow.
All right, Alex, how do you see this series going? Potentially, whoever ends up getting out of this game will fight whoever loses in the 7 matchup, and that will be your future opponent for the Boston Celtics. And so, first of all, do you have a preference on who you'd like the Celtics to play, and also just how you see the game going, just putting bias aside and everything?
I think honestly, the Celtics shouldn't be worried besides the 76ers. But the 76ers are going to be the Knicks problem, and that is good luck Knicks. But I think the Bulls are going to pull out of that game, and then they're going to play the Heat because I remember the playing game last year between those two. They didn't go into like overtime or really close. Like it was a very
Really
close
close.
game, I think, throughout. And so I think the Bulls kind of want their lick back, and DeMar DeRozan is going to go crazy. And I think the Bulls are going to pull off an 8th seed. So,
All right.
DeRozan's points is already set at 30, so they already know that he's going to score. Like it goes 30 points. It's like minus 114, which is good. And then if you want 32, you can get it at plus money at plus 123. Trae Young's number is actually really low. It was at like 22.5 for minus 124. You could get, I think he'll probably score. Like if you want him to score 25, that's plus money at plus 110 odds, which is actually not that bad. Another guy you could probably get, Kobe White. His number is 20 at minus 120. You could get him at plus money at 22 points at plus 120 for 22 points. So it's got a little nicks and necks here. They think Vegas basically is telling you that DeMar DeRozan is going to have a 30-point game.
Oh, easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And we're going to take a moment here just to get to some Instagram comments because I can't put them on the screen yet because StreamYard hasn't gotten the Instagram configuration there yet. But I can read them. As Just Montu says, cousin, Toddy, I think that's a shout out for you. And Dat Niner Chick, a.k.a. T, says, heartbreaking. I think it was when we were talking about the Kings. Yeah, it's relatable. She says, why are you bringing up old stuff? And then she says, is Draymond playing tomorrow? I think he is. And you know, that could end up like at this point in his career with how much of a hothead he is. I mean, he's always been a hothead, but just given his volatility, that could actually benefit the Kings. Because I remember vividly when Draymond after game 2 last year or during game 2 last year was cussing at a fan that was like 15 rows up. Like, bro, you're above that. Like, not
didn't
only
E40 get like kicked out of the game last year?
Yeah, he did.
Crazy.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And it was
There
was some fucking Karen like wanted to just be a.
That was quite the playoff series last year. I think that was one of like the better first rounds we've seen in a while.
Yeah,
it was. I can't think of like honestly what
stuff going on.
You both will probably remember this series as Celtics fans. But this was back when we were all, Alex, I think you're a couple years younger than us. So like we were all like middle school or around that age. But the only first round series that comes to mind for me that might have been better than that Kings and Warriors series was when the Celtics went to 7 games with the Atlanta Hawks, like way back when. This is like 10, 15 years ago. And like Atlanta almost upset them when it was the big 3 Celtics that like should have carved through everyone. What do you recall about that, Alex?
It's not that per se, but I remember, well, I'm not really talking, that's maybe not first round, so I won't say it, but I remember a playoff series. Whenever the Wizards played, I want to say the Celtics or the Hawks back then, when John Wall and young
Kelly Oubre
and that squad, like I remember that vividly and being like, wow, this is amazing. But some first rounds, I really enjoyed the Clippers and the Warriors before the Warriors got their chip. Those were really entertaining
Mark Jackson
series as well.
Yeah, when it was
the
Blake Griffin and
Lob City.
Exactly. Yeah, and that Clippers team that never ultimately got to a Western Conference Finals, even like that Clippers team was the last unit to beat the Warriors before they started their dynastic run of, they didn't win the championship every single year because LeBron got his one in 2016. Cleveland, this is for you. But that was the last team to keep the Warriors out of the finals until that whole run came to an end. And so, I love that team as well. I love that Clippers team because at the time it was like the Kings are dog shit. Who am I going to kind of root for? Oh, yeah, go Clippers. This is a cool team. Anyways, Kevin, I wanted to ask you next about this game between the Bulls and the Hawks. How do you see it ultimately going as we got a little bit more time with Alex before we bid her adieu?
Toddy mentioned Kobe White, his resurgence. He was a top 10 pick 3 years ago, and he kind of got buried into the rotation, buried behind Lonzo Ball, and now he's kind of really taking that jump to stardom. I don't think he's in a race for MOP. I think it's a one-man race, and that's Tyrese Maxey. But I'm going to go Hawks here. I think the Hawks are going to be able to pull it out. DeJounte Murray in the past 28 games without Trae Young due to his finger injuries, averaging 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, and that is with 6 30 balls and 2 40 balls. So DeJounte Murray is doing his thing. Trae Young has had a great season. Could have been an all-star. Everyone goes to back and forth. Wasn't Trae Young an all-star this year?
Yeah. I can't even tell you.
I think he was. So I think they're playing well. Quinn Snyder is really getting this team to buy in, and this team is going to play well. Jalen Johnson, Toddy mentioned it, has been really playing well this whole season with DeJounte as his lead guard versus Trae as his lead guard. So to kind of have Trae Young back and get a couple games in before the playing game, I think it's going to be huge for them. And like I mentioned with Joel Embiid, you put so much mileage on your star players, so for them to kind of sit back and get healthy and just rest is going to be a big deal. I don't think Kobe White's going to be able to carry them over that hump. Vucevic has been kind of up and down this year, and then it comes down to, Compton DeMar. Is DeMar going to be able to get them over that hump? We saw against the Knicks, he missed that mid-range jumper, and he was kicking himself. So DeMar, if you keep the game close, DeMar will come in there and find a way to win. But I just don't think the Bulls have enough. I think Trae Young's going to absolutely kill Kobe White. So I'm going to have to go Hawks here.
You hit the nail on the head there, Kevin, in regard to DeMar DeRozan's impact, not only overall, but specifically in the fourth quarter, because I think back to the last time I saw the Bulls play. Like, I didn't watch the game against the Knicks yesterday. And so the last time I vividly remember seeing the Bulls play is when they were in Sacramento, and the Kings, another game that the Kings completely fumbled away, had a 15, 20-point lead, and they lost that one. But it was because DeMar went nuts in the fourth quarter. Like, he went into the fourth with 7 points, and he finished with 30 plus. He just went ape shit. And I definitely think he has the capability to do that in this game. However, even if he does, I'm going with Atlanta in this one. I think that the Hawks will win. Yeah, we've talked about Trae Young. Yeah, we've talked about DeJounte Murray. And I think, in all seriousness, DeJounte Murray is the difference maker in this game, whether if the Hawks will win or not. But I'll add a third name just so we don't end up all repeating ourselves. Kevin mentioned the inconsistency of Nikola Vucevic throughout this season. But Clint Capella, when he turns it on, he is a 2020 machine. And if Vucevic is still stagnant or inconsistent, then Clint Capella could end up being the difference maker in this game. I think DeJounte will be, but I just had to throw that name out there because Clint Capella is a guy who kind of has flown under the radar since he went to Atlanta after his Houston days, and he's no longer catching nonstop lobs from James Harden. But I still think that he's an impact player. Alex, do you have some closing thoughts for us before you get out of here? We appreciate you for joining us.
Oh, no problem. And I don't have any thoughts. I will say, with these playoff matches, I'll tell you guys the playoff game I'm really excited for, and I'm really excited for this Bucks and Pacers. I think that's going to be exciting. And it's interesting to see Giannis was injured, and I don't know how they're going to approach that because they don't want a repeat of last year. So that's going to be really interesting to me. Also, the Knicks being the second seed, I think is kind of crazy. Even though they're missing Julius Randle. It's going to be interesting how they kind of handle Joel Embiid because we all know the 76ers are going to pull through. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Everyone but you and your small island. But thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Always. Pleasure.
State champion Alex Dent, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. The best hooper in the Dent family. As we continue here on episode number 90 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Kevin Dent and Jaevon Toddy. Guys, as we keep things moving, this is the weird part, and I've realized over the last couple of years, whether if it was Stats Over Politics last year or a couple of years ago with Shaun and Vaughn, when we get to this part of the predictions for the play-in, it gets funky just because we all have our own individual picks for the first couple play-in games, which obviously dictate who ends up in the matchups that we'll see on Friday. But just starting out with myself, since I have the Pelicans winning, they get the 7th seed. That means the Lakers have to play for the 8th seed. I have the Kings winning, which means the Kings will compete for the 8th seed if they end up winning. So in that matchup between the Kings at the Lakers Kings are going to make it 5-0. The Kings move on. They get the 8th seed.
Oh.
And Toddy,
Oh.
I get my wish. Of OKC in the first round, because OKC's they're the number 1 seed, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, honestly, the Kings don't even have a chance at 7. But if they were in that game, I'd say lose. So then you can try and get 8 and play OKC, which I think that the Kings would beat OKC in 6 games. Kevin, sticking with the Western Conference, if I remember correctly, you picked the Pelicans and the Kings as well to win their games. And so that would mean the Kings versus the Lakers, if I remember all of that correctly. Who do you have winning that 8 seed matchup, Kevin?
So I took the Lakers over the Pelicans, so it'll be Pelicans Kings, and then I got the Kings, man. I think the BI coming in late is going to hurt. I would really love to go against the Kings and go with the Pelicans, and not be a homer. But I just think we're going to be the better team. The Pelicans have owned us this season, and that was with us being healthy. So I'm going to have to go with the Kings in this nod, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we did get to that last play-in spot for that A seed if it went away, because I don't think we have an answer for Zion Williamson.
All right, Toddy, let us know what your hypothetical Western Conference 8 matchup would be, just so I don't remember incorrectly. And who do you got winning it?
So we do have breaking news. Jordy Fernandez is going to be the next head coach of the Brooklyn Nets.
Well deserved.
Congrats to Jordy.
Well,
Obviously, for those who don't know, Jordy Fernandez, current/former Sacramento Kings top assistant coach. Awesome for him getting that Brooklyn Nets job. And also Lindsey Harding, who is currently the Stockton Kings, which is obviously the G League team. She has had interviews, exactly, Toddy, for Charlotte. So there could be 2 former Kings assistants who get head coaching jobs this offseason. Thank you for mentioning that.
On your roster.
Oh, that's what happens when Mike Brown comes to town. Anyways, Jaevon, what would be your hypothetical 8 seed matchup in the West, and who do you got winning it?
So I do think the Lakers get the 7. I think they beat the Pelicans and get the 7. As far as the 8 seed goes, I'm going to go with the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans play so how I would have it set up is the Warriors would beat the Kings, advancing to the next game. Pelicans will lose to obviously the Lakers. Pelicans will get another home game, and the Warriors will be traveling on the road. I think the Pelicans match up fairly well against the Warriors. And Kevin mentioned it earlier. I think the role players are really good. Trey Murray, Herb Jones, got my boy GTA, and Jose Alvarado. So and Shaun's guy, Jonas Valanciunas. And then I think Zion's going to probably rise to the occasion to superstardom that people kind of think that he's at. All that being, in his first couple of years, just everything was kind of just like, this guy's going to be this, and that. We haven't really seen that much due to injury, but I think he's going to take this by the reins, and we'll see him against, I guess, an OKC team, which would be one of the youngest matchups. Would that be like in playoff history? If you kind of look at pretty much everyone's age across both teams. So, so I have Pelicans getting the 8, Lakers getting the 7.
Awesome. And as far as my potential Eastern Conference 8th seed matchup, I would have the Sixers versus the Hawks. And in that one, I think that the Sixers, even with home court, absolutely beat the brakes off the Hawks. Congratulations, Atlanta. You might get the 1 win if that even happens. But if the Sixers end up in that 8 seed play-in game, I think that they have a sense of desperation and they end up getting the 8th seed. Jaevon, I'm going to toss it back to you. Who would be your potential 8 seed Eastern Conference play-in game, and who do you got winning it?
So I do have I have the Sixers getting the 7. I think they knock off the Miami Heat, Shaun's Miami Heat. And then I think if the Heat end up getting the 8th seed, I think that playoff Jimmy is going to snap back, and I think they do get a win over the Chicago Bulls, which I do think that they've had a successful record over the regular season. The Bulls can only travel so far. I think DeRozan will probably get hot in this game coming up tomorrow. And then I think we'll see that playoff Jimmy kind of activate. And then they would head to Boston, I guess. And boy, will that be fun. Boy, will that. So I got not Chicago, I got Miami getting the 8 and Sixers getting the 7.
All right, Kev, who is your hypothetical 8th seed matchup in the Eastern Conference, and who do you got moving on after you unmute yourself?
Just kidding. So I have the Sixers winning against the Heat. So I would have that means I'd have and then I have the Hawks beating the Bulls. So that means it would be Hawks and Heat. So for the 8th seed, I'm gonna have to go Jimmy Buckets, man. I think the Hawks can take it really far, but with Tyler Hero coming back, and as you guys all know, Garry thinks Bam is better than AD. So we're gonna have to see it again. So I'm going to have to go with the Heat getting the 8th seed because I think they're going to be able to fuck around and make some noise. And who doesn't want to see another Heat Celtic playoff series? So I'm all here for it. And Heat in 4.
That's wild. So before we move on completely from the NBA plan, I wanted to highlight a couple more Instagram comments from our guy Khalil, aka _ K Faded. He says, Kings suck without Monk. No chance. And I see that our guy Garry is tuned in right now on Instagram as well. So shout out to our boy Garry. So guys, we were originally planning to preview the other playoff matchups that have been set, but for the sake of time and because we're going to have a bonus episode this Friday, so make sure you tune in for that. We're going to save the rest of the playoff matchups until it's officially set at the end of the play-in. Late night podcast this upcoming Friday, right after the play-in games. Make sure you guys are all tuned in for that. You have advance notice. We expect to see you there. But guys, now let's move on and get to 3 last topics. And Jaevon, I think it's time that the people make some money. We didn't have you on here last week. The people have been asking us, what are the picks? Where should I put my money? Because Jaevon's been making me a lot of money, and it's time for you to make some more with Vonny's Hotline. So let's hear the picks for this week.
So we'll start first with the plan tomorrow. So yeah, 2 of these picks are going to be part of the plan. Got Lakers money line. I just think LeBron's going to go in kind of similar to how they were yesterday, and kind of just take over in a sense. And he's getting a day's rest here. I think AD's probably going to be good to go. I think we'll see the Lakers start to fire off on all cylinders. And I do realize that the Pelicans have home court advantage, and Brandon Ingram's not going to be on a minutes restriction anymore because he only played 23 minutes the other night. But I don't think it would have mattered if he would have not been on minutes restriction because the Lakers absolutely blew through them. So I do have the Lakers winning tomorrow. I'm very confident in that pick. Warriors -3. I've seen it too many times in the playoffs last year. There were just so many times the Kings had chances, games to put away the Warriors, but they kind of just let them hang around. And you can't let Steph Curry hang around. Now I get it. This is different. This is in a 1-game standing. I think I've said it before. I think Steph Curry is the Kings boogeyman. Kings fans may or may not agree with me, but let's pull up the film from Game 7 last year, and we'll see how that 50-piece feels. I like the Warriors here. This is a good spot for them. I get it. They split throughout the regular season. Kev could argue that it should be 3-1 if Klay Thompson doesn't hit a game winner. He pushed off at the end. But I just think the Warriors are going to get it done here. I've seen Steph Curry too many times kind of get the job done. As you guys heard in the previous segment, I don't have them make the playoffs, but I do think they get the victory over a hobbled Kings team. This is where it starts to get kind of fun a little bit. The next game is going to be the Wednesday game. We have the Sixers -4.5 over the Miami Heat. I think obviously the addition of Joel Embiid, a lot of people, including myself, were saying that he probably should have shut down this year, just based off of the meniscus tear, and won't know kind of where the Sixers will be at. But they kind of stayed afloat, to my surprise. Tyrese Maxey was able to keep those guys in, and I'd say Kelly Oubre and Tobias Harris kind of kept those boys in playoff contention still, to where they're still in the play-in. I think Miami still makes the playoffs, but I don't think that they will end up covering the spread, let alone winning this game. So I do think Joel Embiid will definitely go and have a monster game. Would like to see what his points are at for this game, because it's probably going to be higher than the draft says. But I do think the Sixers get it done here. The next game, these are the actual playoff games. So a little bit of a preview of what Friday's episode will look like. Magic are traveling to Cleveland for game 1. I think this is a Saturday game, which sucks because the game's probably going to be on NBA TV. Put the Magic on TNT because they don't get nationally televised games at all. But I'm taking a little bit of insurance here. I wanted to take Magic money line, which is a very good possibility. You could get them at plus 170, which is very juicy. They ended the year off fairly strong. This will be Paulo Banchero's I think pretty much everyone on this roster's first playoff game, if I'm not mistaken. Probably besides like Gary Harris
and Joe Ingles
and Joe Ingles as well. So a bunch of these guys are very new to the playoff scene, so they'll all be willing to prove something. I think the Magic haven't been one of the higher scoring teams. They've been pretty good defensively. I think they should transition to a lineup that would probably have Jonathan Isaac in it. So you could have Franz, Paulo, Jalen Suggs, Wendell, and Jonathan Isaac, all those guys. There'd be a lot of the average wingspan of that lineup would be insane. Cleveland has been kind of reeling towards the end of the season. I thought that when they were missing Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, they were doing fairly well without them. This could maybe have something to do with the dynamic of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Maybe that it won't work and it's a little bit redundant, and maybe we see Donovan Mitchell leave. But I do think that the Magic probably end up covering the spread. I think they can win this game. I want to pick them to win, but I just want to see what the first game looks like. But I'll take the insurance policy here and take the Magic plus 5. The last game on the hotline, which will be a Sunday game. I don't know if this will be on ABC or TNT. I would assume this game would be on ABC. You got the Mavs and you have the Clippers. Now, thing about this is the Mavs are plus money right now, which I do think that will change in coming days. So you want to hop on this now, because I don't think Kawhi Leonard is going to play in game 1. Kawhi has been out with a knee injury, and there are reports kind of circulating that knee is pretty swollen. I saw Chris Broussard say something about how swollen that his knee is, and it doesn't look good. He's trending downwards to not playing on Sunday. Now, a lot can happen between now and Sunday, but I don't think Kawhi Leonard is going to play in this first game, and you can grab the Mavs at a plus price. I think once they we'll hear the Woj bomb or Shams Charania bomb, whatever you want to call his, you'll see the announcement saying, "Oh, Kawhi Leonard is now out." All of that, everybody and their mom is going to rush to bet the Mavericks, and that'll probably make them heavier favorites. I'll say probably maybe minus 150, 160 odds it will swing to. So I'd grab the Mavs at plus money right now, and they have been one of the hotter teams in the NBA going down the stretch. I think they were 19-4 or 6 their last, however many games that was. I'm not good at math. But I do like Luka against the Clippers, because he usually puts up 40-point triple doubles against them. I would look at the odds to whatever Luka triple double would be to go in. I would look at Kyrie points. I would look at Daniel Gafford rebounds as well. And I would also look at Paul George points as well, because now Kawhi Leonard is going to be out. The primary scorer would be Paul George. So like the Mavs at plus 100 on the money line. So to recap everything, We have the Lakers money line in the play-in. We have the Warriors -3 over the Sacramento Kings. We do have the 76ers, also another play-in game at -4.5. We have the Magic +5 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then we have the Mavericks money line over the Los Angeles Clippers. So this will be a very, very interesting weekend. I wanted to throw on the Pacers on there because the Pacers are also at plus money, and Giannis is probably not going to play in that game. So that would be another game that I would definitely look at if you like the Pacers. And the Pacers beat the Bucks pretty handedly throughout the year. And that was with Giannis playing. I think Giannis had like a 50-point game, and they still lost.
64. Yeah,
60,
Kev. And they wouldn't give him the fucking ball because
Yeah,
they wanted to give it to their rookie for making it a free throw.
And they still lost. So another team that I would also look at, a lot of dogs in this game, a lot of dogs. Phoenix Suns are also plus money against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I would definitely look into that. They just blew out the Timberwolves yesterday. Bradley Beal had his season high at 36 points. West probably wouldn't like that. So we'll definitely look into those games. But those are a little couple sneak previews we're going to look at towards the Friday episode, which we'll kind of dive a little bit more into those particular series. And we'll probably have all of the matchups that we can kind of get into as well.
I love the little sprinkle there on Indiana. I love that. Yeah. Kevin, it's time for us to debut a new segment. So if you could do the honors.
Yes, sir. So we have a new segment, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call it This or That. So just a little bit of a breakdown. We are going to say one person, and they will be titled for the This or That, and I'm going to name players in the similar positions. And we are going, as a panel, going to say if we agree who we pick that is better than this player. So, for example, if it was this or that Kevin Dent, and we said Jaevon Toddy, everyone's going to take Jaevon Toddy as the better player. So that's kind of how we're going to do it. And because, Toddy's been throwing a lot of Celtic hate, I figure there's no better person to start this off with besides Kyrie Irving. So we're going to do it as a panel, so we don't all have to do a separate turn. So we'll all just go. So Toddy will say a person, Shaun will say a person, then I'll say the person. So that's how we're going to do it. So this or that, Kyrie Irving. The first name we have is Jalen Brunson.
Kyrie Irving.
No,
I'll say Jalen Brunson because Jalen Brunson's been playing out of his ass.
Yeah, you guys know that Jalen Brunson is my
personal
friend. After I got one selfie with Jalen Brunson in downtown Sacramento in like 2021.
We're looking for the picture, Shaun. It didn't happen unless you show us the picture.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. But as much as I love Jalen Brunson, Kyrie Irving, he's a generational player. So I'm gonna go Kyrie.
I'm gonna have to jump on the boat with Toddy and go with Jalen Brunson. Next name up, Trae Young.
Kyrie.
Oh, definitely Kyrie.
I'm gonna have to go Kyrie as well. Next name, Damian Lillard.
Kyrie.
Dame Dollar.
I'm gonna have to go Dame Dollar. Tyrese Halliburton.
Kyrie Irving.
Woo! Halliburton. Should I go get the jersey? I'll go get the jersey. I'm ready.
I'm going Hallie too. I gotta go Hallie. Jamal Murray.
Kyrie.
I'm gonna have to go Kyrie.
James Jaevon, you owe me a soda.
De'Aaron Fox.
Kyrie Irving.
De'Aaron Fox.
I gotta go Fox as well. Last name, Tyrese Maxey.
Kyrie Irving.
Tyrese Maxey.
I would say you gotta go Tyrese Maxey. The youth, Kyrie's playing at a great level right now, but Tyrese Maxey's only getting better. So
Kyrie's my guy.
So we have
hold on. Pause. Is this Ramadan Kyrie or regular Kyrie?
Regular Kyrie.
Important question. Oh, regular Kyrie? Give me everyone else.
Everyone
Just kidding. Sorry, Kai.
And that is going to do it for the first This or That. So we will be seeing these a lot more on the social media clips, just getting some feedback, seeing what people think. So if you guys love it, let me know. If you guys want us to can it, we'll can it. So we are the people's people. So whatever you guys want, we will give you.
Hell yeah, I love it, and I just love that we're trying new things, we're debuting new things, and I got to give Kev a shout out for that because Kev's always throwing ideas out there in the group chat like we should try this, we should try that. Same to Jaevon as well. And so I just want to give kudos to my guys because I appreciate you guys for keeping things fresh. As we move on here on episode number 90 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon, Toddy, and Kevin Dent. Our guy, Garry Singh, is lurking in the Instagram comments as he says, all NBA BAM. If anything, it's -1 Vaughn. I assume he was talking about that Warriors-Kings game. And then Garry also said, Zion is our boogeyman. Aha. So I guess we'll see how that goes. Aha. But anyways, guys, last segment here. And Kevin, do me a favor. Everyone already saw my jersey earlier, but can you show everyone the jersey? Oh, a number 6 for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, normally if the NBA play-in tournament was
that a Jeremy Maclin jersey?
Normally if the NBA play-in tournament wasn't starting tomorrow, the WNBA draft wasn't today, this might have been our lead topic, especially for the guy that is to my right. However, we get to it here at the end of the show, but we need to get to it in general, and that is, Kevin, the fact that your Philadelphia Eagles fly. I almost said something a little too much there. As the Eagles, they signed DeVonta Smith to a 3-year extension. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe off the top of my head, it was $75 million, 51 guaranteed over 3 years. Perfect. Wow, look at that numbers. Anyways, Kevin, starting things off with Philly's own, not actually, but the Philly fan. What did you think about this signing? Because I know that we talked about it a little bit in the group chat, but share your thoughts with the listeners.
I was absolutely shocked. You know, when they all offseason were signing all these other guys, everyone on Eagles Twitter is saying DeVonta Smith. We need a DeVonta Smith extension. And I was thinking north of 100 mil easy. You know, he's coming out here and dominated, had 2,000 yards in his first 3 seasons, and his first actual season ended at 982. So, I mean, basically 1,000-yard season. So he's coming in and being very productive. He is – I'm going to scream this from the rooftops. He is the best wide receiver, too, in the NFL. Argue with your mama. I ain't got time today. So, DeVonta Smith, over his first 3 years, 3,000 yards, 3,178 yards, 352 targets, 19 touchdowns with 64 yards per game. He has had 3.1 thousand yards over his 3 years. Let me tell you some other guys that had 3,000 yards over their first 3 seasons. You'll know a lot of these guys. Justin Jefferson, Randy Moss, Odell Beckham, A.J. Green, Michael Thomas, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, Jerry Rice, DeAndre Hopkins, Anquan Bolden, CeeDee Lamb, and Jalen Waddle. I only named one other wide receiver, too. So for Jalen Waddle and DeVonta Smith to be on this list is absolutely insane. As it stands right now, I talked to Toddy about it earlier. The market is going to reset, but as of April 15th, DeVonta Smith is tied for the 4th highest paid annually receiver with A.J. Brown at $25 million. First, you have Tyreek at 30. You have Devontae Adams at 29. You have Cooper Kupp at 26.7. And then you have the Eagles foundation at receivers, bringing in $50 million annually a year. DeVonta Smith added 50 receivers to average 11 or more targets with 20-plus receptions. The whole list of the 50 receivers to complete 72% of those targets, there's only one name on that list, and it's DeVonta Smith. So I was telling Toddy, you got to pay to play. He's not going to – I did not think he was going to take a homie deal, and that's what he did. You're hearing guys like CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Ayuk refusing to play on their 5th-year option. Howie Roseman was able to get DeVonta Smith to play on his 5th-year option for $15.6 million and then throw the 3 for $75 on top of that. So Howie Roseman is continuing to extend this team. All of our star players will be on the roster until 2027. At 2028, you know, like me and Toddy talked about earlier, A.J. Brown turns 30 years old and he'll be up for a contract. So everyone else is signed until 28, but A.J. ends at 27. So hell of a deal by Howie Roseman and DeVonta Smith, homegrown Eagle. And I'm just happy that he's going to be here long term.
Yeah.
Jaevon, putting all bias aside, I heard the name Jalen Waddle. To me, that's a better wide receiver too than DeVonta Smith, and that is no disrespect to DeVonta Smith. I mean, the guys played together at Alabama. They were in the same draft class. And DeVonta Smith went higher and won a Heisman. And so DeVonta's obviously gotten his flowers. But I think, and also to me, Kevin's going to love this part, but to me, Jalen Hurts is a superior quarterback to Tua Tagovailoa. So for Jalen Waddle to be doing what he has been with a Tua versus DeVonta with Jalen, to me, there's a difference. And there's another Alabama comparison. The synchronicity between the Dolphins and the Eagles is actually kind of funny in that sense. But as I was saying, Jaevon, putting all bias aside, because it's well noted that you and I are diehard San Francisco 49ers fans, not even factoring in our team's receivers, Jalen Waddle is a better wide receiver 2 to me. And so that makes DeVonta not the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL. That's kind of a pointless debate at this point because they both could go on to become wide receiver 1s on their own team, just like we think that T. Higgins has the potential to. But what did you think of this overall extension, Jaevon? And what kind of an impact do you think DeVonta will make on the Eagles over the next 3 years?
I thought this was a brilliant move by Howie Roseman. He saw the future basically because he knows that the receiver market is definitely going to be reset. As Kevin already mentioned, all the guys that are on those types of deals, like I think he said Cooper Kupp was in the top 5 as one of the highest paid receivers. That's definitely going to reset over when Justin Jefferson signs, whenever Jamar Chase signs, and we already have Tyreek Hill making like $30 million. Devontae Adams is making $28 million. So he's a guy that when his contract came out, we were like, whoa. And then when Tyreek came out, it was like, okay, those are like the one-of-one types of guys. And Kev already mentioned AJ Brown. He's making like 24, 25 or something like that.
25.
Yeah, he's making about 25. So he's kind of middle of the pack. So him and DeVonta are going to be tied. But DeVonta, I don't think his deal starts over. I think he's playing out this year. Then he plays out his 5th-year option. And then his money starts kicking.
This is his 5th-year option. This next season is going to be his 5th year.
So
it kicks in at the end of next season. It will kick in his 3-year extension.
So, yes, he won't even be making that money until after next season. So, they're kind of playing the smart game because A.J. Brown's contract is going to be up. They're paying Saquon right now. Now, does Jalen Hurts' contract kicks in? I think next year as well.
Next year as well.
So, that's when everybody will start to be getting paid and things will start to get a little bit tighter. But for right now, they kind of have that super team. You kind of get to keep those 2 receivers in A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith, and you have a Saquon Barkley as well. So right now you're trying to squeeze as much as you can out of Jalen Hurts. Had a down year last year compared to the year of him going to the Super Bowl when Shane Steichen was calling plays. And then all of a sudden you had Brian Johnson, the guy who was calling plays last year. And now you're getting Kellen Moore calling plays for Jalen Hurts. And you would like to see the results that you were getting when Shane Steichen was calling plays, and you have all these weapons around him. So you wanted to get the maximum amount out of Jalen Hurts this year. I think the real question is the market is definitely going to be changing. And for me and Shaun, we're seeing DeVonta Smith get this 3-year, $75 million extension, and you're kind of looking at what does this mean for Brandon Ayuk? I think that this means that the price definitely goes up for him. He's an all-pro receiver. His numbers have drastically increased year by year, and I think the longer the 49ers wait, the more expensive his contract does get. We're already looking at the salary cap that keeps going up. We saw DeVonta Smith get 25. This has to put Brandon Ayuk in the 25 to $28 million range. And that's not as crazy as it thinks, because I think when Justin Jefferson signs his contract, it's going to be like $35 million. It's going to be an insane amount of money. It'll probably be the most we've ever seen from a wide receiver, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that this actually helps the 49ers because, as Kevin was saying, the initial projections for how much a player like a DeVonta Smith or a Brandon Ayuk might end up commanding, especially in free agency.
And CeeDee Lamb, too. He's going to want some money as well.
Exactly, and CeeDee Lamb. Has Jalen Waddle gotten paid yet? I don't think so. And so Jalen Waddle, throw him in that conversation as well. All of these guys, what was it, from the 2020 draft class, right? all of these guys are needing to get paid.
Nico,
And,
Amon Ra, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase, C.D. Lamb, and Justin Jefferson are all the next receivers to come up on big payments.
I mean, is 25 annually? Is that a lot?
That's a lot.
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Well, let me tell you who's under that. So you have Stephon Diggs at
3 years.
24, DK at 24, Devo at 23.9, and Terry McClary at 23.2.
Salary
Okay,
cap
so
has
yeah.
gone up. The market it's going to keep resetting. I was telling Kevin earlier when we were talking on the phone, when Dak Prescott first signed his contract for $40 million, it was like NASA went to the moon part 2. But when we kind of come back and look at it, we're seeing, Joe Burrow. We saw Patrick Mahomes get $500 million. We saw Justin Herbert sign his contract, and they're like 50, and Kyler Murray is in that range. So the Dak Prescott contract didn't look as bad as it does now as it did back then. So I think we're going to see that same type of deal as far as when it comes to receivers. We're going to see all these big money names come out, and like Kevin was saying, Cooper Kupp's like one of the top paid, Stephon Diggs, like these guys are starting to get older. So the new wave of receivers are going to come, and they're going to start to get, their piece of the pie as well. And we'll see those gargantuan numbers. Like once upon a time, Michael Thomas was the first $100 million receiver to sign. I think that's ever. So we're going to see big money contracts for receivers in the incoming years, months, pretty soon here. Yeah, weeks, pretty soon here.
Yeah, shout out to Slant Boy from the Ohio State University. And before we get out of here, this is a YouTube, X, and Instagram exclusive. Jaevon, you're not even the best Toddy that was on the panel today, because before we got going, none other than the legend, Mr. Mako Angel Jesus Toddy. I got it in the right order, right? Did I get it? Did I nail it?
Sir. Uncle Shaun.
Let's fucking go. Mako.
Uncle Shaun with a buzz.
Class of 2030, whatever. I don't even know what his class is.
Uber? Football player? What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Something. Quarterback, point guard, combo guard. You're going to be something.
Dual athlete.
Boxer. You probably
Is he going to wear 55 to hoop, though, like his pops? He got you.
Oh, God, no. Never.
How about number 4?
Yeah, number 4, probably. That'd be tight.
How's Self's vision? Is Self 2020? Because I know you kind of blind,
It's better than mine, I'll say that.
So no goggles for him, huh?
Probably no goggles for him. Hopefully not.
Awesome. Well, guys, that's going to do it for episode number 90 of Stats Over Politics. As Kevin was saying earlier, most podcasts only make it to 14 episodes. The fact that we have made it this far over 6 times. Over 6 times the average.
You did the math.
Got it. It's like 6.5 times. I had a little extra time there. But anyways, it's been a pleasure to do this podcast with you guys for the last 90 episodes, and I look forward to the next 90 and beyond. But we got a special one coming up in about 10 episodes with episode number 100. Because we might have bonus episodes here and there other than this upcoming Friday. We don't know the exact date of episode 100, but we will be planning it out in the coming weeks, and we will make sure that we keep the announcements out there in case we happen to do a live podcast or whatever we end up doing, or a live show, I mean. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for episode number 90 of Stats Over Politics. If you're enjoying the podcast, please make sure to give this video a like, and if you enjoy the channel, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics, and on X at Stats or Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. And a thumbs up, might as well. And you guys have been tuned into episode number 90, the 90th episode of Stats Over Politics for my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Kevin Dent, and Garry Singh, who was here with us in spirit. I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on Friday for a bonus episode, episode number 91 of Stats Over Politics, as we preview the NBA playoffs. We'll see you all then. Later, everybody.